Okay, guys. Obviously, we put a couple guys on IR. Higbee got his ankle rolled up on bad, and so it's going to be a little bit of time, but we do expect him to be able to make a return. Rob is, really, you talk about Higbee, Rob, and Quentin Lake, all guys that are going on IR. Big losses for us. Quentin Lake had elbow surgery yesterday, ended up dislocating his elbow. Everything went really well. There still is some optimism that he could return this year. Same thing with Higbee. And then, Rob Havenstein, he's as tough as it gets. He's been battling, been pushing through his ankle, his knee. He had been kind of sore, and there had been some things going on. And so being able to talk to him, I think the best case and the best approach is going to be able to give him some time, see if we can end up turning the corner and allowing him to be able to feel like he's capable of. And we'll have hope and optimism that all those guys will return at some point. And the soonest that they'd be able to return with, Rob and Higbee would be, with 3 games remaining in the season. And we'll kind of monitor what Q Lake's status will be. As far as today's concerned, Xavier Smith got the concussion the other day. He's doing better, but he's not quite where we want him to be yet, so he'll be a DNP. Everybody else should be good. It's been something that he's been dealing with, Adam. I mean, like I said, he's as tough as it gets. And, you look at when he missed some time earlier in the season, he comes back. I thought he played, really well, and then you could see it just progressively started irritating him more and more, and really limited his ability to be able to function the way that he's capable of playing. And when you're doing the things that are asked of that position, particularly up front, sometimes it's one of those deals that you have to do right by the players. When you talk about a guy like him, he'll continue to push, battle, fall on the sword, and I think our job is to be able to sometimes protect these really tough, guys, from themselves, and then to be able to, take that information that I'm getting from Reggie, from the totality of it all. He ended up getting kind of like a bursitis where his knee's swollen too, and so, there's nobody that would push through more than him, and sometimes you have to be able to protect these guys from themselves, but he's such a phenomenal leader for us. He'll do such a great job in the meantime of uplifting and elevating the group just like he's done, and then we'll look forward to being able to get him back when he's feeling better and capable of playing the way that we're accustomed to seeing Rob play. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, no doubt. Well, number one, those guys are going to be here. They're going to continue to, uplift and elevate those guys. There is a lot of guys that we have confidence in. You don't replace players like that. You don't expect others to be able to do that. You expect the guys that are getting opportunities to step up to be the best versions of themselves. And this is something that you deal with, and it's an unfortunate. It's one of my least favorite parts of this business. You watch the amount of work, time, and effort that goes into preparing, and then how precious these opportunities are to be able to get these games and to be able to go compete with teammates that they love and care about. And so they'll still be here. They'll still be able to affect and influence things in a positive way. And even though I know all 3 of those guys would be chomping at the bit to be out there, they're everything that's right about this place, and they'll contribute in their own ways. And you're not going to run away from those. Are tough losses, but you look around this league, and we've had to deal with things like this before. And there is a lot of confidence from the guys that have been asked to do different things that'll be elevated, to be able to go deliver and play to the best of their ability, not try to be Q, not try to be Rob, not try to be Higgs, but be the best versions of themselves, and that's what we'll do.
In Rob's case,
it is.
How much of a luxury is it having somebody like that who can play as well as he has?
It's a luxury, and I think it's a tremendous credit. I've mentioned it before, Stu, and we've talked about it. I think Rob's done such a great job. Obviously you got to give Ryan Wendell, Zach Cromer, Brian Allen a ton of credit, but also Warren, of course, because of what he's done. And it's really cool to see him just continuously work, earn the confidence through his work, not any sort of words. But Rob's also mentorship and guidance, I think, has been, I would imagine that Warren would tell you it's very helpful, but it is a luxury. And I think Warren's played really well in the times that Rob hasn't been able to go in previous games this year.
Do you have a sense for what the time frame is for Quentin? Could he be back in the regular season, or?
It's hard to say, Nate. I know the surgery went well. I think they were really encouraged with some of the specifics, and I'd be a little bit out of my element, getting too granular there. But talking with Dr. Elatros, talking with Reggie, even talking with Q today, I don't think it's out of the question if you earn an opportunity to be able to play after the regular season that he could, potentially play. So don't know about the regular season, but if we're fortunate enough to, continue to, do things that give you a chance to play more than the 17 that you're guaranteed, there's a possibility he'd be back for that.
How much does it help for you, especially with Rob, with Higbee being out and having so much talent and diverse talent at tight end role?
It's a big deal, Nick. And Higbee's been such a glue guy for us. His presence, his charisma, his production, his overall just energy is something that is really hard to replicate or ever replace. But it is a luxury, and I think Scooter Huff's done a great job of really developing that room. Higgs has had a tremendous influence on those guys. It's really cool to see how far and how much growth you've seen from Colby, from Davis, and you continue to see from Terrence Ferguson. So I do feel really fortunate to have good depth in that room. Well, I'll tell you, and you guys have talked to him, he's about as impressive of a human with his mental toughness, his ability to acknowledge that he's disappointed, but the thing that, Q's one of those guys that when you sit there and you talk to him, you're like, man, I wish I was like that. Because his mindset is, man, I'm just grateful it's not anything my lower half, and I can still walk around, and because it's his left elbow, and he can throw the ball around. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? But that's who he is. Even when I spoke with him after the game, he was going to get the MRI scans, and they had a premonition of what it could be. We thought that for him to come out, it's probably something that's going to be significant. So we had a feeling, and then when things were confirmed after I spoke with you guys on Monday, but his mindset and mentality is incredible. I think there is part of the mental toughness is acknowledging, I'm disappointed, it's a bummer. All right, so I don't want to stay in this space. How do I move forward? How do I surround myself with people that uplift me? How do I make sure I'm not in this alone? And I think there is something to be said for those temporary milestones as you start to gain progress, getting closer towards a return. And he's a special guy. His perspective is something, when you think, sometimes when I think about complaining about stuff, he's a good reminder of how to handle things.
Is Josh Wallace a guy that you look at to fill that spot, or could Roger McVay
I thought
fit
he
in?
did a good. I think it's something that we'll continue to evaluate throughout the course of the week. What I will say about Josh, Nate, is he did a great job the other day. Came in, played almost 30 snaps, and really that's been consistent with Josh Wallace. He's a guy that can play so many different roles. He's so smart. He's got great instincts, great overall awareness, great physical and mental toughness. And I thought against an excellent outfit, he came in and really didn't miss a beat. And his ability to communicate, to understand, big picture wise, not exclusive to one spot, but the concept of everything that we're trying to get done, specifically on the back end, is a tremendous credit. Roger's a guy that we've been working, and there's a possibility of that. So Aubrey does such a great job of being able to get those guys ready along with Coach Beak, and this week will be really important, for those two guys in particular.
Talk more.
We've talked about this a lot now, haven't we? You writing another article about this? So here's what I would say. I'm always a little probably too long-winded. Incredible testament to him, to Liam, to Zach, with the amount of information that he could digest in a short amount of time. I think there's also a credit to his teammates. You think about even something last week when somebody called me, that I think is a local writer for the Bucs that Artis had me talk to, and I can remember, they brought up that Brian Allen is telling him what the clock mechanism is in terms of the cadence, and you can see that on the TV copy. But he's a fun guy to be around. Obviously, I think when you look at it, with the two quarterbacks, we feel so fortunate to have Matthew. Obviously, I know Tampa feels that way about Baker, but you got two guys that elevate the people that they're around, instill a belief, which I think is some of the most powerful things that you can offer as a quarterback, with the way that you lead and the way that you compete that's authentic to you. And I think Baker's always done that throughout his career. Matthew's always done that, but what he did was he was himself, and I think when you look back on it, I don't know that many people are surprised, but it's an impressive feat. It's a real testament to his competitiveness, but also his mental capacity to be able to handle and absorb so much information in a short amount of time. There's just so many. I think you try to make it as similar or like as what he's done. But he did a great job. What's asked of that position in general, you better be able to operate above the neck, and he certainly did that in a very impressive fashion. All right, thanks guys.